All right. All right, guys, welcome. Unit 4. We are doing our discussion live instead of on the chat. Now, there should be 6 of us here, so we have to talk twice as much, each of us.
100%.
I don't think any of us have a problem with that, to be honest with you.
Actually, I mean, this topic, Kristen, is right up your alley. I mean, you've done loads of stuff on
Yeah,
MCL.
yeah.
I just put the sort of like the outline that was in the post for the 3 articles, and then maybe we could just speak to each of those guiding questions and
Sure.
sort of see how we go if we try and speak for 5-10 minutes on each of them. Does that sound right? I mean, and remember, as you're chatting, try to link it to articles and research and whatever, as you would if we were writing it down, just so that we sound super academic, etc.
Woohoo.
What do you think? Yeah, so the case for SEL based on your synthesis. What is the significance of SEL for student success, and how does it align with your organization's current focus or vision? Anyone want to kick us off?
So I can go first.
Yeah.
So in terms of like kind of the core findings and impact from all the readings, like the research consensus is that it's oh my God, I'm losing words already. It's unanimous, right? That social emotional learning is not supplementary to academic success, but it's a foundational to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's from Greenberg. I have my notes here, Greenberg 2023. So across the 12, like kind of meta analysis spanning the 6 continents, right? Like the SEL programs demonstrate like consistent, reliable effects on student outcomes, right? And it's at all grade levels from pre-K to 12. And with like the effect of like the sizes like kind of that they had was like from medium to large. But from so in terms of a high school counselor, like SEL is kind of really up our alley in terms, in delivering it and creating it and cultivating it, right? So that's so I just found the readings all state that it is important, obviously, and we know this anecdotally, but then it's good to have the academics backing to it.
What do you think, like when you're at WAB, like with your organization's focus and vision, like do you think that they believe in it? Like, do you have sort of, I guess, organizational support and vision for this as well?
Yes. So at WAB we are a whole student kind of model, right? So even for me as a counselor, we're not just a university college guidance. We're also social emotional. We're what we call the comprehensive model. So comprehensive model is that we deal with the student on a whole, like as a whole. So working with them through SEL and as well academic university college is all interconnected. And
so I didn't think of that. That's kind of like a pretty good example of embedding SEL into academics. So like my school that does the opposite of that has recently moved to separating it. You could argue and just say, well, that's a clear example of saying that academics is separate from social emotional learning. Whereas if you have a comprehensive model, it's maybe the purest example in a high school of how they should be working together and how they're inseparable.
And we're trying to tie them to the ATL skills via IB, right? Because some of the ATL skills also have that same, self-management that you can tie them in so that it's embedded in the class. Being a leader, getting teachers on board with that is my struggle. That's 22nd and 23rd are your professional development days. So we're really trying to see, but my counselor is leaving, a new one's coming in. I have a lot of flex. So, and the counselor coming in is a local hire, dual Japanese, but not a lot of work in international schools. So I'm trying to have it because I've overhired, let's be honest. Our numbers are going down. So that's another platform, another conversation. But I'm trying to I have 2 teachers that are also passionate about social emotional and trying to have them take lead of, okay, we've laid the foundation. Now, how can we embed it so that it's not, we're just doing an assembly. It's just advisory time. So that's also what we're trying to do, because they do notice, like even with the Learning Policy Institute, you do notice that it's all academic performance, behavior, relationships, everything is aligned.
Yeah. And actually there's another I mean, I'm thinking about my context. Like I think SEL has a real sort of PR problem. It's our board members, our governors are really reading kind of that right wing this is value stuff. This belongs in the home. Like the parents will teach them this sort of stuff. But Krista, when you talk about linking it to ATLs, because that's what I mean. You look at the Castle framework. It's so much about organization and management and making good decisions based on the information that you have, thinking skills. Yeah. So I sometimes wonder if I mean, and that's also what the research sort of is saying. Well, it's the research is describing and defining SEL maybe in broader terms than even I think about. Like I do also think, because that's what I care about, is the emotional part of social emotional learning. But it's the social part maybe that will get the people who are anti this kind of work on board, because it's aligned to the ATLs and you can kind of connect it. So, I mean, for this question, like, we can see that it's really important, but I think our school and our leadership sees it as separate or too hard or not enough time, and we got to focus on math, and it's a really, really hard sell to try and get them to understand that both are important. I get away with it a little bit in middle school. So middle school, because no one kind of wants to go near the middle school. It's too bizarre and chaos. But it doesn't really help the high schoolers who then are like, when the leadership can just be like, no, too late. High school, you got to focus on IB now, on DP results.
But I don't know also if you realize like the lack of resilience. So, and again, we're very small, so you can't hide, right? Yeah. And so we're having a lot of, someone was mean to me, I want to leave this school and go to another school. It was like the same, like, welcome to life. Like, even as an adult, you've got to figure it out. Like, I'm happy when I'm home alone and nobody's talking to me. Because, and when you get older, you're like, oh yeah, I don't have to deal with the drama. But I have 3 people, like, that 3 families that are choosing to possibly go somewhere else because they feel like their kid's being picked on. And we've done everything at school, right? Like, and even had the counselor do everything. But I said, what are you going to do in the next school when the same situation happens? So it's really interesting, the lack of resilience. But then as a leader, I'm really struggling because you have different teachers who are fully on board, which is what I'm thinking my dissertation is going to be. And then you have teachers who are fully on board and they're getting a great experience. And then you have other teachers that are like, it's not my thing, I'm not good at it. And so then the experience is different. And I'm really struggling with it, to be honest, especially with this such a small school and then people coming and going, including myself, right? Like, it's just like, so I don't know.
Yeah, so I think when you hire, you have to hire people that are on board with, like, so we have someone.
Yay!
I think Bob, you can do that at my school. Oh, Shelley, at my school it's harder, right? The package sucks.
Yes.
We lost her.
We lost her again.
Jumped on and she jumped off.
She heard you speak.
At WAB, you have a package. You have like, I don't have flights home. I don't have, it sucks, right? Like,
that's totally.
So like, you can only have a certain amount of people. So again, like when I was at Shanghai, we were taking this to a big, like, it was going to be amazing, right? That you were going to be able to do this, and COVID helped. I think now people are forgetting about COVID, because I'm even having trouble with online learning. Because keep people in kindergarten or first grade, they weren't around for COVID, so they can't easily switch. Being a K through 12 school, and I'm just like, just use the COVID schedule. Why do we have to read? No, but I've got parents that didn't have kids at that age, so now that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, sorry. It's been like since 6 years now.
Yeah.
Just seeing, are you in? Yeah, you're in. Yay. I just saw your email. Sorry, I didn't see it earlier. Let's see if I can get you on. You're on mute.
No worries. I figured it out. I sorted myself out.
I know. You're probably like Michelle. Michelle, like, has never once read her Wilkes email. She's like, oh, Michelle, there's a whole email thread. She's like, my what? My what email?
My what email?
What are you referring to exactly?
WhatsApp me. I'm a WhatsApp girl.
Same.
All right. Well,
you can be WhatsApp in China.
Oops, you got on mute again.
Sorry, I was reading the prompt and then I realized. Okay.
I've been told off. I'm being too nerdy and I'm being a kiss ass, and I made slides.
All I did. That's what we said.
I'm looking at my shirt. I just copied the text from the web. This is no thinking. It's copy and paste, guys.
We don't believe it. We don't believe it, Chelle. We don't believe it.
So we spoke about.
Don't go too far. We are only on. We just sort of started talking about the first one.
Yes.
About SEL sort of in our current school, like how it aligns with our organization's current focus and vision. I think both. Well, Michelle was super positive. So, like very positive. Kristen and I less so positive about how our school and organization aligns to this.
I'm realistic, which comes across sometimes as negative.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And Michelle, don't you have like something to do with that in some capacity? Like, yes. Okay. I was like, if I remember correctly,
as
like
high
you're
school counselor,
involved
yes.
in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at my school, I teach early years. And like we're going through a transition now, kind of where we're taking on second grade. And so now we're no longer going to be called early years. We're going to be called lower elementary, which has its own, things. But we have counselors. And so when I was doing the readings this week, the focus on like leadership and the importance of like the principals also being engaged and like the teachers kind of doing that within the early years. Of course, we do those things every day. Like all we do is SEL. Like we are teaching humans how to human. Like that is not something that we can avoid in the earlier grades. But I taught grade 1 this year, and it felt a little bit like that wasn't a core, like that wasn't as important to that to the team or to like the pedco. And I was like, that feels weird because these children still very much need that time, still very much need like teacher direction. And so, but it was kind of handed off to the counselors. And it gave me the ick in that like my counselor in my building doesn't show up for her lessons, right? So if she's not showing up for her lessons, then my children are not receiving that SEL, like unless it's from me. But it's different when children engage with someone else in a capacity of like, because they have an entire program that they're supposed to be running, and like so they have like Flex the Bunnies, and then they do another one where it's like it's okay. It's okay.
Are you on an airplane?
I am on an airplane.
You win.
You do win.
I am on an airplane. I was like, I have to attend this Zoom call because I did not write my post.
Points for this.
Are you
What are you doing?
Did you pay for Wi-Fi? That's awesome.
You get 1,000,000 points.
Thank you. And that's why I was like, I'm struggling a little to get online, but it's fine. I made it. So it just was interesting to me this week how they were talking about like, the principal has to be prepared. The principal has to be like, leadership has to be engaged with this work. It's important that the leadership is on board and has a clear understanding of what is going on, because it very much felt and has felt like in my building that my counselor is not being held accountable for not hosting her lessons with students. And it is having a negative effect on like their behavior and their abilities to communicate with each other consistently. And I really saw that this year teaching grade 1, whereas in pre-K and kindergarten, because I had so much time, we did so much of it. Whereas in grade 1, there was like a crunch for time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I want to add something. That's a danger of like, I think, I don't know why that system is in place in your school, but when the SEL, like the sole work of the SEL is delegated just to the counselor, that's a very dangerous kind of practice, because like you said, like teachers should be, and as a counselor, like we can be in every lesson and it can't just be coming from us. It has to be a community shared kind of direction, right? Like community shared responsibility to teach students the ATLs, the SELs of, and how to be humans. It comes because after a while they see us coming, the counselors, and they're, oh my God, like they roll their eyes.
Absolutely. They're like, oh my goodness, start again with these feelings.
Yes.
We shifted it. We shifted it this year in primary and the elementary. we instilled morning circle, which then would embed those SEL skills. Now I have teachers who are refusing to do morning circle. So that's another step. And again, when you have a set of only 5 teachers, 1 per grade level, and I have 2 that won't do it, they want them to sit in rows and do that ever. So I'm dealing with that on the side.
Right.
But then the counselor went through and built the lessons. But when you have people don't follow through, then she wants to give up. Hence she's leaving, and somebody else is going in because you get frustrated. So and again, my school's unique with the size of how small it is and the ups and downs and the turmoils that it's had. So.
But it's so interesting to see, like, you actually kind of witness, like, when it becomes this other thing. Like, as you said, when they're little, when they're in early years, you can't not teach them to be humans. Like, that's everything that has to be the core. But you've really sort of witnessed, like, and then they get to grade 1 or like this, okay, new year, we're going to separate that part. Let's do math now, you know, like that's.
And it's also interesting, Kristen, because I am a teacher. I believe in morning meeting. Even in grade 1, I carved out time for morning meeting. That is extremely important. We have to connect before we correct. We have to be like, hey guys, last night I was tired and I didn't eat snack or whatever, like having that moment of like centering ourselves in that class in the classroom. Whereas not all grade 1 teachers on my team believed in that practice, right? And so I'm just like, it's interesting how, because also grade 1 came down to our building 2 years ago. And it wasn't a smooth integration. It was very like, okay, we are early years and we have our early years practices. And then when grade 1 came, they were just like, oh, those grade 1s, like, you know, they don't want to, it wasn't a smooth integration. So to see that not all grade 1 teachers are doing morning meeting, I was like,
no. And then you get the counselors who give up, right? Like, I've done it. I've gone in, I've modeled, I've done this, I've done that. And you still walk past this one person's room in particular and bam, he refuses to even sit on the same level as them or do the carpet. They have to sit in rows. He goes through the schedule of the day and that's it. He will not do it. He wants somebody else to come in and do it for him. It's too much work for him. Even though I can send you the file of everything that's done.
Well, that might be maybe a good transition then to the next prompt, which was sort of around the leadership responsibility. So how does your evolving professional practice and role as a leader intersect with that design and implementation of that SEL initiative? And again, it's kind of interesting. The prompt is saying SEL initiative when we are all saying it shouldn't be this other thing. It should just be in it. So maybe the initiative is how do we sort of embed it? But I mean, Kristen, you shared a little bit about those challenges. I don't know.
And I'm really trying to be intentional with professional development, right? And it's to try to, like, you know, when we go back to school in August, that it's a designated 3 hours, like not a one-off. It's a designated workshop time that people can discuss your feelings. Like, okay, you're not comfortable with it. How can we help you? I'm trying to do scenarios. That's where Claude is my favorite, to do scenarios. If you put in stuff into Claude, they give you great scenarios that I can even put in the, like, what my school makeup is and how it can do. And it'll give scenarios that then the teachers can work off in groups. And then I separated them in primary and secondary. So to really be intentional, and now to have a teacher, because his schedule's going to be light. It's another conversation I have to have. He's going to say to the secondary, okay, we have the base. What do you see? What do we need to improve? How can we make it better? And then we're also going to, ATLs are also our PDP. We have to be easygoing with our school. So now ATL celebrations at the end, what we can celebrate, how can we improve it, with me sliding in, embedding the social emotional skills. Anyway, that's my goal up here. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah. MCL?
I think one thing that we struggled with, Kristen, when she talks, it reminds me a little bit like WAB maybe 15 years ago when we were smaller, right? And we're building. But when we think about kind of social emotional learning and kind of initiative with leadership responsibility, I think it's really just what is the priority that year. Like, it took us a while to get to where we are at WAB, and it had to be the priority of the leadership. Like, but sometimes some other things like a platform or whatever, other accreditation, yes, 100%, every 5 years, right? That takes priority for that school year. And so then this gets dropped behind. Sadly, we had a student who passed away 2 years ago by suicide. And so that was a huge thing. And then it was like, everyone's like, oh my God, like, what are we doing? And so that really like took us. And then everyone went through mental health first aid training, which was, 2 years, it took a student to pass away for us to like, hey, like we've been saying this year, I've been here for many years, and we've been, again, like Kristen, what she said, like after a while, I just like, you know what, I don't want to push this anymore. Like I'm just tired of like fighting this fight. If leadership isn't at the priority, I get it. Okay, then I'm not gonna harp on it any longer. So it does take a really tragic thing to happen for then leadership to be like, oh my God, this is a thing. We have to deal with it. So
I'm also worried. I'm worried, full disclosure, because once the teachers find out I'm leaving, right? Because it's confidential right now. No one knows except for you guys.
And Dr. Ty and all of Ed616.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, no one works here, whatever. But what I'm saying is, once that, will they be like, oh, well, this is Kristen's initiative. We don't have to do it now because she's leaving. Kind of like the lame duck situation, to be like, oh, well, the new person comes in, this won't, even though it should be every leader's, do you know what I mean? Not initiative, but it should be embedded. So I'm hoping I can get it at least in for the first couple of months, that they see that it's worth it, but we'll see.
I mean, I see. We embedded a program. We did Ruler, which is out of Yale, which is an incredible program. I really, really like it. It was Duff, my colleague, who really led the research to bring that in and get the funding. And it was an intentionally very, very slow rollout. The idea is that it's meant to be really deeply embedded into everything. But it's still a program. It's still got a set of rules and a branding and a brand name and all of this. And Duff was, I was on board with it and everything, but it was Duff's baby, right? And then when Duff left and he left mid-year, it's still there, but it feels, I don't feel like I have it as a genuine passion as Duff did, because I was never sort of leading it in the first place. And I think anytime you have something that is like this initiative, there is always going to be somebody, a leader in your school who may, who is driving it. And if that person leaves, or if the funding is cut for whatever reason, that's why I really SEL, like it's the real challenge I think that I see, is that it's this thing we have to pay for. We have to pay in time, and we have to pay by giving it space in the timetable, when it should be like it is in our early years. Like you can't have this learning experience at school without the social emotional experience of it. But we timetable it. It's an hour a cycle, that students intentionally engage with it. Yeah.
Nice.
And my school is IB. And so we have the learner profiles, which really is like, the core of what we do. Yeah. And it is supposed to be, we're certified from PYP, the early years, all the way up to grade 12. So from early years until grade 12, the children are supposed to be engaging with those learner profiles always, like just, naturally. But still, we have programs, right? And it's like, okay, so clearly outside of the early years, and with my 1 year experience in a higher grade, which grade 1 is still early years in my mind. So that's another thing. That's another note. But to see that, like, the importance of those counselor lessons, and the fact that if they're not happening, that the children aren't getting those things from certain teachers, it's extremely problematic, because it's not supposed to be a 20-minute block every other week. It's not, it's supposed to be naturally embedded. So then it does come back to the leadership and how they need to, like, people have to be held accountable, right? It's not something that should be isolated from the curriculum, because it is always happening. Children are always having social, emotional experiences in everything they do, right? So why is it that it's isolated?
Yeah. I mean, in my case, I feel like it's, I was saying earlier, I think it's got like a PR problem, is that it is seen as this emotions. That's the role of the family, to teach about values and what we believe in. I think people just think it's woke. I mean, and when you're in a school that's becoming increasingly conservative, like it's SEL is seen as woke, and they're, like it's just been put in that bucket over there, and like we're not doing that. which is wild. So then we have to play these games like, no, it's ATL. We have to do ATL, or it's learner profile. We have to do it. But they don't really believe it. They sort of see, like I had a conversation with grade 7 boys yesterday about why they shouldn't be using the word rape in the way that they're using it. Now, some parents, if they find out about that, I mean, I've got 9 days to go, so I don't care. But they will think that, that I'm teaching them, I'm bringing in my woke values.
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm teaching your grade 7 boys not to say the word rape. When they're talking about, I mean, I had a text message, a screenshot that said, oh man, Miss Maloney's going to rape you. Like what they meant is like, you're going to get in so much trouble from Miss Maloney for that thing. And I'm like, you can't say that, like this is the language that they're using. But I think that for some of our parents, this is going to fall into this like left wing, like, woke SEL, like, why are you spending all this time? Because I think parents just, I don't know. I'm also like worried about the thing that maybe isn't there to worry about, but it's a fear that we have. Yeah.
But it's also the country, right? Because there's certain cultures that don't also believe in it, or that they don't value it, and they don't want you to talk about it, right? I came from the Middle East. You could never talk about LGBTQ or have that and be able to have. We had in one of the dorms was a rainbow sign, just like Have a Sunshiny Day. And the parent came in mad that we were promoting LGBTQ, and to take that rainbow sign down from that boarding school. How dare you give that message? Like it was bad. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
Right. So then we also have, when I was on Jeju Island in South Korea, we had parents that wouldn't tell us if their kid had even like, we're seeing a psychiatrist or something, because it would put a label on them, and they wouldn't discuss it. And then you're dealing with, kids who you're afraid that would go up to the top, the roof, because that happened at the school down the road. And so, but they wouldn't tell us that information because they didn't want it out, because it would ruin their family reputation. So I also have to think about the countries where you go, of how far you can push, or how open is it. You would think Jordan would be open because with the king and whatever, and that they both value Christianity and Muslim, but you are not allowed to discuss LGBTQ at all and in Jordan.
Yeah, I think also in Asian culture too, like the whole SEL very Western centric.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe, right? And it's like we don't have emotions, we don't deal with it, we just go on with it, that mentality in an Asian family. But I think for us at WAB, like it is embedded in from like pre-K, like early years to like high school. And so the parents that we have here understand that is what we're selling, or that's what we're doing here. Not really selling, but that's what we're doing here. But and they have to buy into it. So if they don't buy into it, then they're not right fit for us, right?
But I think they know when they come to your school, right, that this is part of your school and what you have. I think that's also that's a big deal as well, that there's a school opening up, or it's open, the Dalton School. I think Ange, you and I talked about it, where a big part of their website, I already got rejected, but a big part of their website is the whole student and how much they spend on SEL, which I thought was interesting, being based out of Hong Kong.
Right. So I threw up the last question. We can sort of transition from that leadership into what problems do you foresee, or what questions do you have regarding, again, the sustainability. So again, I don't know if Ty might want to hear sort of link a little bit to how we're using research, or how that can help us in a leadership capacity or in our schools. But again, we're sort of talking about maybe some of those challenges that I see. One of the things I think about here, I am certainly driven by belonging and the feeling of psychological safety and emotional safety and those kinds of things, and they're much harder to measure. So a lot, like the data that we read in this week's readings, that showed that there is we can see that there are benefits, like there are academic benefits to this social emotional, this feeling of belonging and connectedness and everything coming out of COVID or not, like whatever it is, like that does lead to academic success. But I don't know if we need more research that points to, there was one sort of, I think one point that said just as effective on academic success as in academic interventions. Because I think that some folks who are making the decisions in schools will see, how is it that I spend this much time talking about even organization and emotions and self-management? How is that going to help math as much as more math. So how do we, I think more research or more evidence to help folks see that actually that, the evidence doesn't say that doing more math lessons will mean that we'll get better math results, because we know that they need to have study skills and emotional management skills and relationship skills and those kinds of things. But my challenge is still, convincing folks who don't really want to listen, who've just got their preconceived ideas. And again, MC, I think it's important that you said about the cultural context. It's worked for decades here. Like, let's do more studying, spend more time in math, more time Kumon style. It works. And if we keep doing DP exams the way we're doing DP exams, it will continue to work.
Right.
So when that style of learning is successful, how do you convince folks that this other stuff is important? Unless you have some kind of tragic, like, crisis moment in your school.
Right. I'm really trying to also pull in, like, I liked the Learning Policy Institute because it really talked about integrating it throughout. So for me, how to pull different parts of that article and slip it in when I'm doing some professional development, so that they can see that it's coming from outside sources. I'm also trying to look at that so that people can see, so it can be sustainable. And yes, Michelle is right about the hiring, but so that's a dream. Can I say that? That's a dream.
And my school also, when I'm in our coursework, I notice like my school's taking on so many things. Like, you guys, we need to relax. We took MTSS, like we adopted MTSS I want to say 3 years ago at this point, or like we've been trying. So to see like how the SEL is kind of, it's like in tandem, right? With academics. I think that is something that's helped, because actually that was my first time ever seeing that triangle like that. Like, we've talked about the tiers and things, but I don't ever remember us specifically speaking about the other side, which is the SEL, because we talk about it so much in other capacities. But I think when a school takes on something like that, like that takes away one person. Like, when I'm thinking about what problems do you foresee, how in Angie's school, one person started that initiative, right? Whereas if it is a whole if we connect it to academics, I think parents will be a little bit more willing and understanding, and like a little, even if they're not fully understanding and like on board, maybe more curious. If we think about as a whole school, what frameworks for academics are we taking on, and if within those frameworks there is a place for SEL already, I think that's one thing about MTSS that I was like, oh, actually because I like MTSS in general, but thinking about it through the lens of SEL was different for me this week. So I was thinking, if it's not just one person who has that knowledge or who brought the program, or no, it is in tandem with their learning. If they cannot regulate their behavior, they will not be successful in that. So then that means they're in tier 2 for their behavior, but still they're in tier 1 for math. But it could be a situation where if they're not regulating themselves here, then they're not going to be able to be successful.
Actually, just when you said that, like, if they can't regulate, then they can't do this. I went straight to our report card. Right. Imagine one A4 page per subject. This much of it, 2/3 of the page is each of their criteria grades and a comment, and then down the bottom is a teeny tiny little box with their ATL skills. So what are we saying? We're saying that ATL skills, social emotional learning, down here at the bottom. I never thought of it. That's that message. Is we're actually delivering that message that grades are most important. And there's this other thing that we kind of measure, but it doesn't really matter. They need to be side by side, the same size font.
At minimum, same size. At minimum, same size.
Right. Well, that's, I've asked for the ATL skills to be embedded throughout the comment and not at the bottom. But again, I'm trying to get the spin that ATL and social emotional. I'm trying to weave that together. That's going to take me longer.
Yeah.
So Angie, at WAB, we went away from, so we're also IB school, we went away from grades in grade 5 and grade 6. And so they're all just comment based.
Oh my God,
Of course, they
parents
have
would
like,
lose it.
of course, they have like developing
Yeah.
proficient mastery, right? So you kind of know what it will fall if it's a 1 to 7 scale. Like parents know, right?
Yeah.
Teachers know, but it's really then refocuses on the comments of the child, the character building of the child. I have, well, of course, my girls went through it. And my oldest one was the first cohort that went through with the no grades in grade 5 and grade 6. I'm like, what is? And as a parent, I'm like, what is this? But actually,
Grade 6 is MYP 1.
MYP, yes, MYP 1.
Yeah.
It actually is actually okay because at grade 6 is like, it's we also just say like it's all about the habits and the behavior of the child that we want to focus on, and that will make them successful. That'll help them and gear them to be successful when they're in high school. So it's not really the grades really that matters, but are they having good habits in studying? Are they time managing well? Like, are they doing things that they need to be doing? How are their executive functioning skills? Because all those are really key to like having them being successful later in high school.
Right.
So then Chelle mentioned about the MTSS. So we also adopted MTSS framework. And when you mentioned that, like what I saw at WAB was how that framework really helped teacher understand SEL and really like everything about all the things that we have to think about at school, at work, with the students, with everything that we do, meetings. It's a lot of cognitive like overload. And so having the MTSS really helped take away that load of like thinking about it. And like, so it's just like really clear. Universal tier 1 is like a supporting classroom, like everyone gets universal like support, that all students have on tier 1. And then of course then where there's behavioral or emotional regulations, then there's tier 2, and then 3 is more severe, right? More like one-on-one things. But it's really, I think it has helped our teacher understand. I'm not saying every teacher is SEL gung-ho. They're more keen to go, okay, well, I'm here to support every child because they're tier 1. So I think that was really helpful for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Kristen, any last words? Anyone want to say any last words? We're about 40 minutes, so I think we've had a pretty good chat. Anyone feel like they any last words?
I guess one thing for the long-term success for me, academic achievement is easy, right? But it's how to also get the outcomes of belonging, resilience, and empathy. And the relationship skills, how to quantify those. So that would be for me, again, I can tie it into academic, but how can I get those others?
We're going to see that in your dissertation, I think, Kristen.
Inshallah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. It was fun to start Saturday morning. The commitment from the airplane, like 100 points.
I did it.
You get bonus.
I did it.
More than Ange's kiss ass. More
amazing. More than my t-shirt.
Exactly. More than your t-shirt. Chelle, you win.
Amazing.
Thank you. I did my best. I
can forget my hair did for graduation, so I don't look
have fun.
Tomorrow.
Have fun. All right. So good to see you all. Safe travels.
Yes, great. Thank you. See you guys.
See you later. Bye guys.
See you.
And when do you start CIS?
I'm just gonna go stop recording. Stop.